even as a psychiatrist, I have to remind myself of that all the time. Sometimes people just need to say what they need to say. And like Robin had said, whatever they're going to want to talk about, you don't have to answer it, you don't have to fix the problem, just listening to them is really what they want. And like Robin said too, when I started medical school, I was like, oh, what am I supposed to say when they tell me this thing that seems so catastrophic to me or so big? And sometimes just being there is okay. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information as far as what you might expect is working with the Sandbox. We have a lot of different types of ways that you can volunteer. So asking yourself, do I want to be in contact with the honorees? Would I rather do the behind the scenes kind of things? I don't know what your personal preferences are. I don't know what your skill sets are, but there's lots of different things that you can do as the Boost have shown you. So figuring out that for yourself would be one of the things that I would recommend. And why do we need to look at it? Not only are we impacting the honorees and their families, but I promise you they will have an impact on you and your life and those that you care for. And that can be really strong if you don't expect some of that. And so I want you to just be aware of what your comfort level is with things and why are you volunteering? What is it that you're hoping to do? In that, knowing the kinds of things that trigger you. If your mother had breast cancer and being around people who have breast cancer is extremely triggering for you, you may not want to work around people with breast cancer or any type of cancer. I don't know. It would be, each individual knows themselves better. So think about some of those things as you volunteer to kind of give your own comfort level. Burnout and compassion fatigue. If you're not in a situation where you're doing it and you're comfortable, you can end up having burnout and compassion fatigue, and I'll get into that a little bit later as to what that is. But at that point, you're not helpful for yourself or for other people. So I just certainly want you to look at some of the things that we have as different information so that you don't end up having compassion fatigue. So what does it mean? You end up going through, as physicians, I know you don't want to hear this about your doctors, but we end up going through some of this if we're overworked or if we just have long days and things. It's physically exhausting, it's emotionally exhausting. You don't feel like you're doing anything to help, and you end up kind of retreating and isolating yourself. So we're hoping to avoid that by having this sensitivity training. So here's one of the hard things, because you're taught, doing things and helping is good. So one would assume if helping is good, then helping more is better. But that's not necessarily always the case. So for instance, being a friend is good. Being friendly is good. Being a friend is better, etc. So you think, well, what can it hurt? I'm just going to help them do these other things. Sometimes what will happen is, as a volunteer, you'll go and you'll work with a family and they'll give them a love basket or to do whatever. And sometimes the family, because you happen to be the contact for the Sandbox, that person who they see right in front of their face, they'll say, well, hey, we're really struggling with this. Can you guys help us with this? And sometimes people think, oh yeah, I'll just totally take care of that myself and do that. And then it ends up kind of getting you enmeshed into that, and I don't want you guys to feel that you have to have the responsibility of fixing or helping or understanding all of their problems. What I would recommend is if you see something, or if they ask for something, or if you see a need that they have, there's a form that you can fill out on the website to let us know that. So if they ask for something, or if you see any of those kinds of things, letting us know through the Sandbox for a couple of reasons. One, so that we can figure out how to best help them, and two, so that we can kind of keep track of what the needs of the community and the people that we're serving are. So that being said, now we're in a day of social media, and so I just want you to be aware of the things that you post on social media. We would recommend that, well, anything that you plan on posting having to do with the Sandbox, go through the Sandbox for a variety of reasons. The personal privacy information, like somebody may say, I have leukemia, and I don't want somebody to put on social media, this is Tia, the girl with leukemia that I'm helping, because maybe she wanted you to know that, but she doesn't want the entire planet to know that. I loved this picture. I have no idea where I found it, but I Google searched it, and I was like, this is perfect. So anyways, we of course want social media activity because that spreads our vision and it helps us get more volunteers and all of those kinds of things. But if you, let's say Robin and I are in a picture or whatever, and that picture gets put up there and Robin's like, oh, I know Tia, I'll just tag her in this. I wouldn't do that. I would just tag yourself if there's somebody in there. If you're friends with that person and that person's in the picture, you may shoot them a private message that says, hey, this picture's up, you might like it, etc. What you post is a reflection of yourself and the organization, so just keeping that in mind when you do that. The best thing that I see kids for patients. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. So a lot of the times they just post stuff, and even I do it sometimes, and I don't think that, oh my gosh, just getting, the whole world is seeing this. So if you would like your intent and the content written in the daily newspaper and delivered to every single person, then post it. If you don't, then don't, because in all reality, that's what social media is nowadays. So it's helpful to have boundaries. So be clear of what your role is as a volunteer, and if you don't know for sure, just ask whoever it is that is working with you, that had given you the assignment, and just ask some clarifications as far as what your tasks are that you need to do. I would set a time limit for yourself and stick to it. And what I mean by that is I am willing to volunteer X amount of hours per month or X amount of hours per week, because then it helps you because doing more is better in your head. So when you hit that 8 hours a week that you've promised that you would work, and somebody needs some more help and more help and more help, setting that time limit is really important, because we don't want you to get burnt out either. And so being able to say no and saying this is the time limit I set for myself. Make sure that you keep your personal life private and separate. So we encourage connections, but it can get to be muddy waters. And if you have any questions, ask us 100%. Again, if you have any concerns or worries, let us know. If you happen to see that you go to a home and you happen to see that they need, I don't know, an extra bed because somebody's sleeping on the floor or something, let us know. We can see what we can do about that. I think I made all those. Okay, so all this information, how do I know what to do? Trust your gut. Your gut's the best. If you have questions, ask. There's no stupid questions. And we would prefer that you ask us so that we can clarify it to help you. You're going to run into, one of the difficult things when I first started medical school was some people look really, really sick. Some people don't look sick at all. So you don't necessarily, we all have our kind of prejudgment, I guess, going into things. And so sometimes it's difficult, some of the things that you're going to see and some of the circumstances that you're going to hear. And if you end up hearing this certain situation is going on, they're broke, or they're all of these things, you don't have to give advice. Again, that empathy, sympathy thing. I understand. Let us know if you have that concern, because we have professional individuals that we can certainly connect them with. And that being said, if you go and you personally, as a volunteer, feel that something hit you dramatically and you really need to process it, I'm 100% you can come and talk with me. I can help you process some of those situations. I can't do ongoing therapy for everybody, but sometimes it's free therapy for everyone. No. Sometimes it's difficult to, when you're in that moment, just to wrap your head around some of those things, and I'm more than happy to help you guys process those things if you have any questions.